Hi, everyone. We're going to wait a few minutes for people to get here, so please just hang tight. We're going to give it probably around another five-ish minutes before we get started. Thank you. Hi, everyone. There's still a few students trying to join in. We will get started in approximately 2 minutes. So if everyone can start getting their camera on, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Okay, hi everyone. I think everyone's here. You guys are welcome to turn on your cameras so you guys can listen along, get an idea of what's taking place this summer. I have shortened my presentation just because I want to leave time for Q&A. I'm under a pretty tight schedule today, and I know a lot of you are. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be covering high level what our plans are for this summer. And once I've had a chance to recap our all of our summer plans, what we'll be doing is I'll be taking questions just briefly. For anyone who is unable to take a question today, I'll be more than happy to chat with you once I'm able to see you outside of the meeting. Okay. So everyone, we're gonna get started, and thank you again for coming out. So we're going to be doing a few different things today. We're going to be reviewing our summer program from last year. We're going to be talking a little bit about the program very briefly. After we cover classes, we will then talk about competition, then tryouts, and then there'll be a brief Q&A. So last year, as a lot of you know, we were traveling in China once again for the Chinese circuit. Very happy to say that last year we were one of the first ever teams to take home back-to-back Best Delegation Awards at both the MUN Expo in China and Harvard, China. We're incredibly proud of the team that went there last year, and this is actually the second year in a row that we've been the best delegation at MUN Expo, and we're looking to return and fight for the crown once again. Last year in the summer, we embarked on a variety of different activities, including a series of lecture activities across China, a couple different kinds of classes in Toronto, and generally speaking, was again very much focused on making sure we were ready for these two big flagship conferences in the Chinese circuit. This year, we're going to be returning once again to China, and we're going to be also revamping our summer programming and offer a little bit more clarification, especially when a lot of us are away. So, generally speaking, for the summer programming last year, it was primarily a focus on our classes and competition related to the Chinese circuit. Whereas this year, we're going to make sure we have a lot of programming in Toronto, even for those that can't travel this year. So, for a Model N program, I know some of you have met me before, and some of you I've never met before. But generally speaking, welcome, whether you're new or you're old. It is a pleasure to have you all in the Linky Model UN program. You will see here that we have a very large coaching team. We have many kinds of experts and many styles of Model UN, from East Coast to West Coast to even European styles. We have coaches that have generally seen it all. My name is Mr. Nirpant. For those that don't know me, I am the head coach of the Model UN program. But supporting me are incredible coaches with vast experiences and specialties of their own. If you haven't had the pleasure yet, highly recommend you have the chance to try and learn from all of the coaches in our program. Because although we do have a general standardized approach to how we do Model UN, what you'll notice is that every coach brings their own flavor and their own, let's say, personality to what they do and how they do it. And generally speaking, I find that the lectures where each coach specializes in is your best opportunity to really learn and benefit and grow. So in our program, for those that are new, this is again, guys, we'll get into the summer schedule in just like two or three more slides. For our MUN program, you'll notice that we have levels 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and then a beyond MUN class level 7. In our levels 1 to 3 class, they are club track. This is where students, especially those younger than high school, build fundamentals. They build their knowledge of public speaking, world issues, world affairs, learning how to cite, learning how to write documents, learning how to structure speeches, learning how to read and research at a high level, and ultimately understanding Model UN itself. For those that are very experienced in Model UN or are generally speaking a little bit older, need to focus a little bit more on the competitive circuit, our level 4 classes and above best suit and serve them. For students who have seen immense success in the Model UN world and are ready to move into real world application, you end up getting what we call our level 7 class. So, having said that, for those that have questions about the summer, please remember that when we talk about level promotion, there are 4 tracks that are available. If you generally complete certain levels, usually two per semester for levels, or sorry, 2 semesters per level for levels 1, 2, and 3, you'll just normally work your ways up. So if, for example, you did level 1 in the fall and spring, you'd move on to level 2 in the fall of the next year. But there are other options available. For example, if you are an older student, we typically do what we call accelerated level placement, where after a few weeks, maybe in a level one class, we may move you up straight to a level three, which matches more of your understanding of world issues and some of the content we won't need to repeat or reteach you. For those that are younger, what we'll typically focus on is performance based level advancement. This performance can include everything from awards performance to their experiences nationally or internationally. And generally, for those that are very competent, we don't want to hold them back. We don't want to eat up too much time. So, whenever we see a young person that has exceptional abilities, we try to move them up in our levels as quickly as we reasonably can, while also taking into consideration questions regarding maturity and the more mature content that will be handled in the higher level classes. Finally, if you believe that your level placement is not accurate, that you in fact belong in a higher ranking level, then the last option is through tryouts. Our tryouts take place twice a year, once in June, once in January, and it's an opportunity for you to move up in levels and get placed in a higher class. If you do very strongly on the levels and we have a conversation, or sorry, if you do very well in the tryouts and we have a conversation, it is an opportunity for you to jump to one of our more senior elite classes. So, as a requirement, because I know many people will ask regarding this summer programming and which level is most appropriate for them, please keep in mind that all students in level four must travel nationally and overnight in order to be considered, even for level promotion. That's assuming they've won locally multiple times and that they've completed two levels or two semesters. For level five, they must have competed and won internationally, and level six, they must travel to an Ivy League. And ideally, when they win there, they'll move to level seven. We will have a more detailed explanation of level and promotion. So if you are somebody that is interested in or would like more information on how you move up through the higher level classes, we can talk about it. But for the moment, if you are thinking about which level you'll be placed in, keep these keep these points in mind when you are being placed into a higher level class by your coach or your instructor. But more information on your level placement for the summer will be provided fairly soon. Okay, now we're going to get straight into the summer programming. For the summer this year, we actually have a couple things that are a little bit new and some things that are going to be maybe a better take on what's old. So this time around, we have three distinct kind of classes that will be offered this summer. One is we call regular class. Two is a competition preparation class. And three is a staffing related class. And I'll explain each and every one of these. For our competitions, we will be going to both the MUN Expo and Harvard China. For our camps, we have our general speaking camps we normally offer, but we, for the first time, will offer a crisis camp. So for the crisis camp, I will explain a little bit more in the Q&A because I know that it's a specialty, so I did not want to eat up the classes time or the meetings time with that information. And the last one are our mini conferences. So we are going to be doing a series of mini conferences throughout China, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like in just a bit. Okay. So for our travel schedule, give me just one moment. Oh, apologies. Just wanted to make sure that slide was correct. So for our travel schedule, I'd like to explain a little bit what our plans are. By the way, this video will be recorded, but you are more than welcome to take a screenshot of anything you need. So this summer, I will be traveling across China for a variety of activities. Generally speaking, in some of these cities that we're visiting, you'll see something called a mini conference. A mini conference is a new project for Linky. In China at today, there is a lack of what we call local grassroots conferences. Whereas in Toronto, we have so many affordable local conferences available to us. In China, students do not get nearly as many opportunities. So, what we will be doing in a select number of cities, including Suzhou, Wuxi, Changshu, Beijing, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, and Shanghai, is we'll be having these 1 day mini conferences. They're going to be very affordable. Proceeds will go to charity and they're going to be think like 10, 20 bucks Canadian dollars, nothing crazy. And the purpose of these conferences are very simple. They're an opportunity for people in China to get exposure and experience in Model UN without having to only go to very expensive flagship conferences. Although the Chinese circuit has evolved incredibly quickly with conferences that are incredibly large by international standards, some of the largest in Asia with Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Berkeley, U Chicago, all these famous partners involved, it doesn't necessarily mean that the average Chinese person can get a local conference to get experience. We are going to be running these conferences, but I will not be chairing them. Instead, I will be reaching out to students in Linqi or in China that are going to be there at those dates at that time, and they will get an opportunity to chair. So if you are new to chairing or staffing conferences, or you've never had the experience or opportunity before, this can be one of your first chances to help staff we call a mini conference. For all of these conferences, I will be arriving a day early for training. The training is intended for the students that are actually on the ground participating, not so much for chairs or staffers. But I'll talk more about that in a bit. But generally speaking, my travels throughout China is going to be aimed at trying to connect with as many people on the ground and is an opportunity for you to learn how to chair, especially in a completely foreign country. It will be a very, very interesting experience. Having said that, when we take a look here at the schedule, you'll notice that we have plenty of time allocated to both the MUN Expo and HMUN China. I will be talking about those conferences in extensive detail a little bit later in this presentation. But broadly speaking, we are going to be visiting as many places as we can. If there is a city that you will be attending in China that is before or after the dates listed here, we may actually be able to come visit you. So if you are going to be in China in a different city before July 24th or after August 25th, please let us know. We'd love to come visit, run a mini conference. It'll be a great opportunity. Okay, thank you. So, having said that, we are now going to move on to understanding our classes because that's going to be the first thing. I know there's a lot of questions on this one. So, in general, for our summer classes, I want to take some time to help understand what is expected, who is this for, who is this not for. So, for our regular classes in the summer, this is going to be, again, our fairly standard curriculum. We're going to be having level one, two, and three offered this summer. For these classes, I'd like to make something very clear. In our Model UN program, we effectively designate the fall as, let's say, level 1A, the spring as level 1B, and the summer as level 1C. What this means is all the content is of the same level of experience or knowledge or understanding, but they are different types of content. Whereas one semester may focus a little more on understanding GAs and another focuses a little bit more on crisis, whereas one semester focuses a little bit more on papers and like resolution papers and others focus a little bit more on position papers. Every single semester has its own specialty and focus so that way when you do multiple semesters in a level, it's not the same content at all. The only overlap you should expect are maybe the first and last classes. The first being an introduction to everybody that's there, and the last being a bit of a review and an opportunity just to summarize the activities of the semester. So in the summer, the content will be a little different and a little distinct. But before I go into that, please note that we will have, again, competition prep classes and chairing and staffing classes. So for our regular classes, this is who should be taking them in the summer. If you missed the fall or spring, this is for you. This is an opportunity for you to catch up so you can continue in the next level in the fall. Number two, if you're struggling on any core skills, like you feel like your speaking just isn't strong enough, or you're really unable to do speeches without pre-writing, this is what the summer is for. Because we don't have nearly as many competitions in the summer. In fact, in Toronto, there's maybe one that we're aware of that takes place consistently. That's about it. And because of that, it frees up our time to focus more on skill development, where we can focus on exactly what people are struggling with. Because our summer classes are typically smaller with so many people on vacation, this is a lot of personalized content. Whatever would help suit you and serve you is what the summer is for. If you want some academic programming in the summer, this is also very suitable for you because, like in our normal model and style, you're going to end up learning a lot. But very counterintuitively, the other big reason you'll want to do the summer classes, we get a little bit more time to have fun. I actually kind of miss teaching the summer classes. I personally don't have the time to teach it anymore as I'll be in China. But I remember when I taught my summer classes, we would actually go outside and we would do a bit of interactive activities so we can just talk about nature and the world around us. There is an opportunity to be a little bit more exploratory with how we learn in the summer in a way that isn't practical in the middle of the cold or the winter. So we try to use summer to really help work on all the things we normally don't have time for in the semester. And it's a great complement to anything you've learned in the school year. Let's now talk about who the summer is not meant for. If you're using the summer to try to get ready for a fall competition, this is not the goal. The reality is almost no fall conference will release assignments in the summer. You can't prep for example, Suns or Princeton by signing up for a summer course. The other thing is some students will do something where they'll do a level one in, let's say, the spring, then they do level two in the summer, and then somehow they want to jump to level three in the fall. That kind of jumping of levels is not what the summer is intended for. The reality is that some students will need time to digest content. It isn't just about rushing through levels, it's about making sure the knowledge sticks in your head. So, generally speaking, the levels are very valuable, especially levels one, two, and three during the summer, but use it as an opportunity to build and fix skills. Don't think of it as just checking off items on a checklist. The goal is to become a better speaker, not so that you can tell people you finished XYZ levels in the Linky Model Yun program. We're here to help you get better and get more competent. We don't want to just say you took a lot of Linky classes. So again, there are a lot of people who would benefit from summer classes, but it's not oriented towards competition or just so that you can say you're moving up in levels. Please remember to take full advantage of the courses you take in the summer. Okay, so there's a question. What about levels four, five, and six? So a lot of people are asking, why don't we really run level four, five, and six classes? The reason we don't run level four, five, and six classes is that if you are someone in this class, your overwhelming priority should be one of the following. You're focusing on MUN Expert H1 China if you're in China. You're dealing with personal projects, your own contribution to society. You're preparing for SATs or any other school exam. You're dealing with internships, research, or volunteering, or you're taking school credits to ease up your workload in the fall. You should not be doing MUN standardized MUN classes in the summer. That is not what the summer is for. The summer should be focused on accelerating your school pathway because remember, our goal in the Model Yun program is not just to get you to win Model Yun awards. I mean, that is a bit of what we try to do. The goal here is to make sure that you are positioning yourself well in not only being a competent, well-spoken young person, but also making sure that you have opportunities towards elite, prestigious academic institutions, which is only really possible if you spend the summer accelerating your training, accelerating your learning. So for the competition prep classes, this is still a little bit of a TBD. I'd like to adjust the prep class time to suit the people that are actually signing up for these competitions. What I can say very roughly is most likely on maybe a Friday night or Saturday night, we'll be running a class once a week in June. And then when assignments really kick off sometime early June or like more like mid-June, we're going to probably run classes 2 to 3 times a week in July. The specific pricing and the TA hours included, usually it's around another five. Those things will be released a little bit later. But broadly speaking, because there is no course we expect you to take in the summer, this will be like a course replacement. If you're taking this, you most likely will not be taking a level one, two, and three. Okay. For staffing prep classes, I want to clarify this. So, for those that know how to chair conferences, you don't need to do any prep class. You might need to do things for the prep class, like for the conference, like, hey, put together some assignments, do this, do that, things of that nature. But if you're like an ASG for Harvard Canada, or you're a senior AD or ACD or anything like that, this is not meant for you. You don't have to pay a penny. You don't have to sign up for any class. You know exactly what you need to do. However, For those that have staffed at a more junior level or realistically never staffed at all, this class is going to be very important. What we are learning is that when organizing conferences at a high level, very few students in the Canadian circuit have the experience we need. We are not organizing a 1,000-person conference when we do mini conferences in China, but our goal is to help teach you the systems, softwares, and policies that make running a conference simple and easy. So, what we're going to be doing for those that have never staffed, you'll be spending time in June once a week, just starting to work on things like background guides. And then immediately as your school year ends, we're going to release background guides, get assignments out, get a little bit of a website, promote, promote, promote. So the goal here overwhelmingly is going to be an opportunity for you to go through the experience of running a conference for the first time. Again, although this is a charity conference, although this is a conference that's open to the public and there's no pressure, this is not Harvard MUN Canada, there still is an expectation that with the Linky team that the conference will be of a reliable degree of quality. And the reason that we bring this up is because although I understand that people are going to make mistakes in running mini conferences, we want to ensure quality control. Ultimately, people will still come to this conference knowing that Linky is organizing it. And considering that we are like at the moment the back-to-back champion of the Chinese circuit, we do have an obligation to show really strong quality and almost set the bar for what local conferences should be like. So whoever we are selecting to staff these conferences, we will check to make sure they're serious. And again, if you're a very strong student, it's not the class you have to worry about. It's that I need to be confident you're going to put 110% of your energy. Does not matter if this is not a world-class level conference. Everyone who participates in a model event deserves a level of respect. So, having said that, more information regarding the class and the class times will be released a little bit later, but just wanted to clarify this for you so there was no confusion moving forward. Okay, now we're going to talk about competition. So for the WeMUN Expo, I'm going to just get straight into it. There are two conferences. Before I get into these packages, maybe I'll clarify something. For the WeMUN Expo and H1 China, generally speaking, what we're going to have are we're going to have a variety of packages. H1 China this year will not have any packages options available to them at all because we need to, one, try to control costs by having condensed occupancy, but then two, what we will also need to do is make sure that everybody's actually there training, studying, working together. For WeMUN Expo in Beijing, it is going to be more open, meaning any student who would like to register can register. However, for the WeMUN Expo competition, what will generally happen is the better that you do in terms of the tryouts and the better that you do in competition, the higher ranking you'll be. So if, for example, for the WeMUN Expo, you're one of the higher ranking students, we will invite you to compete in the Oxford, Yale, or Berkeley committees because they're typically considered to be the highest demand committees at this conference. So because of that, how you're doing in class, the level you are, and your tryout performance will have a substantive impact. For the Harvard China conference, today it is invite only, with the remaining spots to be selected at our June tryouts, which will be released very soon. I'm going to go over pricing, and I want to give everyone a bit of a warning. Every year, except for this summer, we've been able to reduce prices across the board. But with my flight tickets going up much higher, with gas prices being significantly more expensive than before, we're in a situation where, unfortunately, we will not be able to reduce prices this summer. In fact, this summer, prices will actually go up. In some cases, not a ridiculous amount, but generally speaking, it's just because our costs have gone up. Linky's margin has not changed whatsoever. It is the same as we always have it, which is 10% for anything abroad. But considering that right now it is incredibly expensive to travel, we are going to have to raise prices to match it. It's just an automatic formula. And we will also be spending more time in China this summer. So, whereas last year our conferences were around 7 days, 6 nights, they're now increased to 8 days, 7 nights. So, please keep that in mind. Okay. So, for the WeMUN Expo main package, and just to clarify, none of these packages include flights. This is for people who arrive in the city of our competition. For WeMan Expo's main package, it will cost a total of 2,000 Canadian dollars. It will be 8 days long. This is from Monday, August 3rd to Monday, August 10th. This will take place at the Beijing International Convention Center, and we will be at the hotel that is connected directly to it. It is literally an underground walkway that gets us there. So, for this competition, our main package is what I always recommend because it includes everything. It includes everything with a clarification of all courses being separate from that. But for the conference itself, it includes everything. So, for example, it includes your delegate fee, which is publicly right now 550 Canadian dollars. It includes 7 nights hotel in double occupancy with twin beds, so one bed per student, and all students get breakfast. It includes 4 full days of pre-conference training at the hotel. So Monday, August 3rd to August 6th, we will be prepping every day. I will be there 24/7 on site to supervise. Mr. Mark Wu, who will be in Beijing at the time, will be coming in to train for the 4 days of competition itself. So he is now going to be there. And although he is an assistant coach, he is one of our senior coaches. So it's one of the best possible assistant coaches you could get. We're going to get 5 hours with the TA, and you're going to have administrative fees included. So for this competition, please keep in mind that this is the largest Model Yuan conference in China. There are teams from around the world that'll be present. In fact, there was a team from Brazil last year, team from Russia, team from all over. This is a tough conference. It is true that we were able to win back-to-back best delegation awards, but I'm going to be really honest. I know the team that's coming this year, and I had to up the number of days of prep to 8 because I know the team's going to need it. The reality is, our team, although incredibly strong, is different than other teams. Whenever our students win, unless they are moving up to a more prestigious institution, generally would not return. They would go to a different conference or a more prestigious US conference. But in this case, it's one of those situations where a lot of our team is very junior. I want to make sure that they have a reasonable chance of success. So this is going to be the totality of our WeMun Expo package. Slightly more expensive than last year, but if you actually include the price of one extra night at the hotel, the only actual increase in price was around $65. That's it. Again, it was just really the flight difference that impacted things, but it's a very minor difference compared to last year once you factor in the extra night. But in WeMan Expo, we understand some people have different travel schedules. They'll have different, things that they're going to be doing. In this case, we've offered 3 additional options with greater flexibility. Before I give those options, I'd like to clarify how our pre-conference training works. If you have competed with us internationally before, you know this very well. It hasn't changed. What we usually do is we'll meet in the lobby of the conference for, the 4 days before it, and we'll be preparing in venues near and around the venue. It's a chance for us to scout out the venue in advance, get comfortable with our environment, find places to eat, mingle with the people that arrive. It is going to be very flexible in how we do prep because that's the best way for us to get comfortable with where we are, no matter where we travel to. So this will not be at some site far away. This will be at the venue itself. It's the best opportunity for us to get ready and minimizes any travel time going any other place. So if you are going to be in Beijing, but would like the full 8 day package, when we remove all the hotel costs, the price drops to 1350. So you can save around 650 Canadian dollars if you get hotel of your own. And generally speaking, for this package, you'll retain everything else. You get the prep camp, Mr. will be there, I will be there, and we'll be able to be there to assist and provide support. And generally speaking, for this competition, again, you'll get everything you need other than the hotel. I'm going to say this very clearly. This package is not intended for those that are visiting Beijing. If you are visiting Beijing and you don't have a place to stay, like your family doesn't live there, or you haven't already booked a hotel for a different reason, you should stay with us at the hotel. Whatever money you would save at another hotel is not worth it. I'm going to say this really honestly. If we wanted to save money, we would stay at a different hotel. But we stay at this hotel for the simple reason that we want a chance just to meet all the international teams that arrive, make friends with people that are around, and just feel comfortable going into this conference. Please do not choose another hotel to save like $200. It is not strategically the right move. It does not impact Linky. It does not impact me. We will not be financially affected in any way by you doing it. But I know that every time a student has attempted to do it, it ends up causing them a lot of grief in the long run. They end up having to leave our training early. They end up getting really tired in the mornings. Because, guys, I will tell you this, we're going to be prepping all day, all night, right? From as early as we wake up until 2 or 3 a.m., we're going to be studying, we're going to be researching, we're going to be getting ready for competition. So, if, for example, you are not going to be in Beijing in time for the conference, there is another option available to you. Like, let's say for the pre-conference prep camp. What you have here is just the 4 day option. So if you'd like to compete only the days of the conference itself, so from Friday, August 7th to Monday, August 10th, this is the package that's available for you. So it does not include any pre-conference training. So you would arrive on the 7th, you would leave on the 10th, but includes everything else you need. So it'll include your hotel and breakfast and all of that. But this is really just a standard 4 day option, and that would be a total of 1,400 Canadian dollars. And finally, if you are competing for the 4 days and you're not going to be there before and you don't need a hotel because your family lives in Beijing, then it would be just $1,100. Again, in that fee, pretty much half of that goes directly to WeMun just for the delegate fee, and then everything else can help cover hotel and supervision and things of that nature, right? Because we're still dividing international flights and all the other expenses that come along the way. Okay. So now I want to move on to H1 China. Before I do, this is some of the information you'll need. You don't necessarily need to put all this information when you register, but we will ask you many questions. We need to know to fill out this information. Please ignore the line where it says when I'm departing from Toronto to Hong Kong. That was from last year. But broadly speaking, we need to know which sub conferences you want to participate in. I have the list from last year, but I can mention the list for this year. This year, it is confirmed, or at least as far as we know, Oxford, Yale, Berkeley, U Chicago, Boston, McGill, MUN, which is a European conference, and local Wheatman partners and universities in China will all be featured at the Wheatman Expo. As far as we know, Brown University is still TBD. They were not there last year, and I think wanted to come this year, but may have run into trouble with their flights. But all other university partners should be present, with some of the background guides starting to be released slowly over the last couple of weeks. Yale MUN China, there was a dedicated conference that's just wrapped up, so they'll be releasing their expo committees and expo assignments fairly soon. So, having said that, we are going to be asking you to rank which sub-conference you value the most, and we'll be sending more information as it gets released. So, again, for the WeMun Expo, we will spend a lot of time trying to match you not only to the institution of your choice, but also trying to figure out which university committee is most suitable for you. For example, there may be a student who would really like to be in a Yale committee, but that student specializes in crisis. If U Chicago is the only one to run a crisis committee, I would personally probably recommend the U Chicago one, because having a committee that you feel comfortable in where you understand the rules is very important. For example, if we had a student in Vancouver who came with us and said, I really want to be in, let's say, a Boston committee, I might actually end up recommending them to Berkeley, because there are significant differences between the East Coast and the West Coast for Model UN, and a Berkeley committee will adopt more of a West Coast style approach in evaluating students. So please keep that in mind as well. Now, Harvard China. For Harvard China, there is only one option, and there's a couple of reasons for it. This conference, unlike Women Expo, is invitation only. We are taking exactly 16 students for this conference, no more. The reason we're taking 16 is that means we'll have exactly one student per committee. Depending on your age, your grade, level of experience, and other items, we will select a committee that is most appropriate for you. In a competition like this, there will be some students who will not necessarily be who will not have the opportunity to compete for one reason or another. But generally speaking, we will do our best to make sure that if you are unable to attend or compete at H1 China, you will get an opportunity at the WeMun Expo. For the 16 spots, part of the team has been filled. And I, for a variety of reasons, have hand selected a certain number of students, for example, based on different conditions that we have in our program. We, in our Model UN program, give a guarantee to anyone in grade 11 going into grade 12 that they can get any conference they want to go to. If they want a spot, we guarantee them a spot. I do not want to be the reason we deny a student an opportunity to compete, maybe their last chance ever at an Ivy League conference. So after we include the grade 11s, then we include students who are guaranteed spots from tryouts in the past. Then we include students who are guaranteed spots for other reasons. Then we include very high level students who are automatically guaranteed, typically teaching assistants. And then we open up spots to the public. So I'll show you the list in just a moment. But before we do so, this will be the only option available because this year, in order to try to keep the cost the same as last year, because last year was 1930 all in, this year we'll jump to $2,000, about $70 difference. We have to move to quadruple occupancy. But in doing so, it means that we have to evenly divide by gender and hotel stay and all these other considerations. In order for us to keep our pricing consistent, it requires us to make sure that everybody is there. And there is another thing. Our team last year was spectacular. They were one of the strongest international teams I have ever taken on a conference. Majority of that team has become teaching assistants at this point. We have an amazing team that I think is going to be going this year, but not nearly the same caliber. Meaning, number one, we've added an extra day to this trip, so it's going to be 8 days now instead of 7 days. And two, I need everyone at the hotel because we can't waste a moment. We can't focus on people running around and trying to figure out what's going on. We will be at the conference and we will do our best to prep. So this conference, we're going to be in Guangzhou from Tuesday, August 11th to Tuesday, August 18th. If you do not see your name on the list I'm about to provide, you can one, send me a message just so that I haven't forgotten for any reason. But two, I will most likely ask you to participate in the tryouts. If I feel like you are so strong and some of the students invited do not accept their spot, then it is very possible that I will extend a direct invitation to you. But this will be assessed personally by me on a case by case basis. That is how it would go. And as a reminder, this is a Harvard conference. When we go to this conference, this is dramatically different than anything you've seen. At a conference in the US or abroad in the Harvard circuit, because they've been running for decades, you will literally see students from 40 different countries, right? Not two, not three, literally 20 to 40 countries around the world. People will be flying in. These are going to be the best of the best teams from across the circuit. We have to make sure the people who are selected are in a real position to do well. These conferences are not easy. And I'm going to say that again. These conferences in China are not easy. It's our level of preparation, dedication, and academic discipline that has made us do so well. The conferences in China are brutally difficult, but the difference is our preparation has made up for it. So please do not assume you can walk into a conference in China and do well. That kind of hubris is one, very disrespectful to people who consider themselves to be very talented in MUN. And two, is important so that you don't get completely stopped when you go into an international circuit. Again, I'm very proud of our team's success, but they earned that success. They had to fight for weeks and months to get ready to be in a position to do well. Please don't forget that. So, for this trip, these are the students who tentatively have a spot available. So, out of the 16 students, we we have Yuki Wen, Julie Sun, Sophia Zhang, Victoria Xiong, Emily Zong, Annie Q, Rachel Zhao, Ryan Yu, Isaac Fong, Danny Chen, Harry Chen. If there is anyone who is guaranteed a spot for any reason that I am unaware of, please contact me privately and immediately. I will look into it. But most likely, I have recommended that you participate in the tryouts, and I just believe you're likely to get a spot. The second thing I'd like to mention here is if your name was mentioned and you have changed your mind, you are unable to attend for any reason, please let me know so I can then allocate that spot to another individual. For anyone on this list, you have until May 17th to register. If you contact Linky directly, they will give you a private code you can use to register on the portal. You will not be able to access this without that private code during registration. If you fail to register by this deadline, then I will have to give your spot away to another person. If you need a little bit more time for payments or anything like that, that is understandable, but you need to be in regular contact with me and we need to set a new deadline and we can handle that privately. But again, if you are AWOL, you simply do not respond to this request, and I just don't hear from you, your spot is no longer promised after May 17th. Please be advised that there was one small adjustment. Originally, I said we had 17 spots a few months ago, but now that the final list of assignments and or the list of committees has come out, there will only be 16 spots this year, so one less than last year. Thank you for understanding. So again, please do not register for this trip without my approval. This trip is invitation only. All remaining spots as of today will go directly to the tryouts in June, which I will talk about in a bit. There is another thing. We are trying to make our Model UN program a lot more efficient because we know that quite a few students here really want to focus on prep and training. I do too. But one of the ways in which we've struggled lately significantly is many students have delayed us by waiting so long to pay and register. They have delayed our team in getting ready for competition. We cannot accept that anymore. When we go to major events, I want to spend my time focusing on getting you ready, not dealing with administrative paperwork. In order to reduce our administrative load, we will be increasing late fees and we will not be making an exception. The reason is that every single student who delays or makes a change or makes a mistake or has some issue could mean dozens of hours of my time trying to fix that mistake instead of actually focusing on the competition. So please take some time to seriously consider what you'd like to do. But when you are confident, you need to go ahead and register. We cannot have a bunch of people signing up last minute because I need to focus on awards contention. Every time I spend, let's say, a dozen hours on administrative tasks last minute, in my mind, I think if I had spent an extra 12 hours getting you ready, that person who didn't win could have won an honorable. The person who got an outstanding could have gavelled. And that's the way that I think. And I really want to make sure we avoid it. So the only way I can see it reasonably happen is we need to have real consequences for delays. So this is not a Linky decision. This is a me decision. And I did this because I just do not want a situation where the rest of the team suffers because a few students are unable to make up their mind. So please, to the best of your ability, as we release schedules and deadlines, please make sure you register on time. I appreciate it. And another final reminder, please make sure to purchase medical and accident insurance. Because you are minors, this is standard for every trip we do. Linky's business insurance does not extend to students of that are generally minors. It's been a very much of a challenge for us to even attempt to purchase bulk insurance for kids. So because of that, I would highly recommend purchasing it. But what I would really also purchase, trip interruption insurance. Because of I would say, chaotic events around the world. Although I don't expect or foresee any sort of concern in China this summer, it's good to have trip interruption insurance in case you need to be able to try to claw back any sort of losses or expenses. But knock on wood, want to avoid any kind of trouble in the future. Okay, now for our tryouts. In June, we will be running tryouts, not just for the summer, but for the fall as well. So for the fall, we will be doing a series of competition that includes Suns, which is still being considered. That's why there are three asterisks. We will be going to Princeton for sure, Yale Model U in Korea for sure, and Harvard USA for sure. For Harvard Model Congress Asia and Yale Model Congress, it is still being discussed. For Model Congress competitions, to be clear, we do expect to make a return in Model Congress. If you are unfamiliar, we had an amazing performance at Harvard Model Congress Europe this summer. Our students were so proud of their incredible achievement. We had 6 students attend, and they end up winning 7 awards, with 5 of them being gavels and one student winning 2 different awards. So, with that kind of performance for our first Model Congress, I feel like we have to make a return. We are still deliberating on which conference we'd like to attend, and we're still getting some clarification on a couple of other items. But we will have more information around Model Congress post Harvard MUN Canada. Regarding Suns is again a national level competition, but we are waiting for some clarification from Suns on how they expect to do judging in the fall. I will probably send a personal request for information sometime over the next week or so. And when I get more clarification from the Suns team, I'll be able to make a decision on what our intentions are with Suns moving forward. And I'll provide explanation on that in the future. So for tryout dates, this year we're going to be running four tryouts. On June 12th, this is all tentative, but this is our intention. On June 11th, first we'll be running a tryout in Linky, Montreal. This will be a little special because I myself will not be able to be present as the head coach to oversee it. Instead, I will be calling in virtually, where our Montreal students will meet in person. We will ask our teaching assistants in Montreal to oversee the tryouts, and I will be there virtually to help answer questions, provide support, and provide any additional assistance. On June 12th, we will be running tryouts in our more normal routine, where we do one Friday night in Linky, North York, one Saturday night in Linky, Markham, one Sunday night in Linky, Mississauga. We understand that this is the week just as private school ends, but considering that if we were to run it the week before, it would actually be 1 week after Harvard Canada. And I think after all of the time and effort put into Harvard Canada, it would be unfair to ask people to immediately do tryouts. We also will give many bonus points to those staffing Harvard Canada because we understand they will need a long time to catch up with their other obligations. We would like them to be present at our tryouts, but they will generally receive a healthy number of bonus points that they can focus more on their on the conference or on the tryout performance rather than focusing on preparing many hours worth of documentation. I will provide more clarification on this a little bit later, but it's mainly to accommodate and fairly adjust for the effort they've put into developing this conference. For the students in Linky China and Linky Online, we will have a separate evaluation process altogether as to which or as how we will select you for our fall competitions. Please also keep in mind another unrelated note, which is that for our tryouts, they're not going to include just competitions in the fall, not just competitions in the spring, but on occasion may also include a few spots for certain competitions in in the spring as well. So not just the fall, not just the summer, but the spring. For example, if students are younger than high school, the only option they have for an Ivy League conference in the fall would be Yale Model U in Korea. But that team is incredibly limited. Only 12 spots available. It's not an accessible option for most people, and most people won't even make the team. So if there is a student who is in grade 8 or younger in the fall, so let's say they're grade 7 now, we would give them a guaranteed spot at Cornell very early. Cornell is the only Ivy League that we travel to, one of only two that actually allow students younger than high school to participate. So we will be giving very early confirmation. So if you're a talented student in grade 7 or grade 6 or grade 5, you can lock in your spot at Cornell much more in advance this time. This will help families with planning their school year schedule. This will also be fair to those that don't have as many things to try out for. Okay, so before we wrapped up this speaking part of the presentation part of this presentation, I have some critical contact information for you. So for those that don't use WeChat that often, I have linked both Linky, Mississauga, North York, and Markham's WeChat contact right here. They're QR codes. If you need any discounts for any sort of summer or fall classes, if you'd like to get more specifics about other programming, please contact them directly. They have all the details regarding what discounts are available, what promotions exist. They have all of that information. Talking to them directly will be the best option moving forward. Keep in mind that after I mention this, I would like to talk a little bit about our mini conferences and our camps, and then I'll wrap up the presentation. So if you don't use WeChat, I also have their WhatsApp contacts. For their WhatsApp contacts, you'll see here that we have one for Mississauga and then a joint one from North York and Markham. So while you're taking pictures of these WhatsApp codes, I'd like to provide clarification on two items. Number one are camps. Number two are mini conferences. For those interested in staffing mini conferences, we will send a survey to all students in the Linky MUN program. It'll be a simple Google form asking you to fill out and when you might be available and if you'd like to participate in helping to staff a mini conference. Remember, there is no cost to directly staff a mini conference. That's number one. Number two, for our crisis camps, I intentionally left it out of this presentation, worrying that we would go over time, but it seems like we have plenty of time in our schedule. So I can briefly talk about our crisis camps. Our crisis camps are going to be a brand new activity we're doing this summer. So if you're a student in level one, two, and three, or even higher, and you want to get experienced in crisis, you want to learn how it works, really understand a crisis note, learn how to staff it, want to participate in it, we will be doing both a fantasy crisis camp in the Markham area and a military crisis camp in the Mississauga area. So these crisis camps are going to be taught by Mr. Nico. He is one of our teaching assistants. He is a legend on the circuit. He has won back to back awards at both Princeton and Harvard, USA, in crisis committees exclusively. He is very strong in crisis, one of the strongest in Canada, and he will be teaching that this summer. So Nico is incredibly talented when it comes to all things crisis. I will be there for the first few hours of each camp just to get things started, but then honestly, Nico will be able to carry you through all that you need to cover. I will be involved in writing and drafting the curriculum. Nico will be involved in executing and preparing you for that camp. So if you're somebody who would like to try a crisis related thing for the first time this summer, the crisis camp is going to be perfectly suitable for you. So, highly recommend you register for that crisis camp if that's something of interest. And we'll have more information on it soon, but it is available for registration on the Linky portal. We are also going to be asking some of our Linky teaching assistants to help support us with our more general summer camps when we have time, but that's a question and a comment for a later date. So, thank you again, everybody, for joining this presentation. I know that there was a lot of content covered. I didn't want to have the presentation run too long, even though we had 2 hours allocated. So, I'm very happy that we were able to wrap up everything in just about an hour. Having said that, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I will be here until 10 o'clock to address them, to provide as much personalized support as I can. I can't promise I'll talk to you first, but I'm going to start with the broad questions and get to the narrow ones. So at this point in the presentation, I'm going to be turning off the recording, but if you need any other resources, any other support, I will be here until 10 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. If you are good to go, you're free to head out. Thank you, everybody.